Alright, you HTML maniacs, it's time to get into a new section where we're making connections through HTML. It's a very important part of HTML is knowing how to properly link to images and how to link to email addresses and other pages. That's the whole part of HTML. It's the whole part of the web. It's all about that interconnecting and properly linking. So we're going to start off talking about two different types of ways to link to something. And this sometimes kind of tricks people up a little bit. But it's very simple once you get the hang of it. There's two different ways. One is called relative linking. The other is called absolute linking. I'm going to show you the difference here, and we're going to hopefully this makes sense. So we have our web page so far. We've got a little bit of text down here, and we've got an image. Now, the big difference that we wanted to make sure we understand here is that this text is basically embedded into our HTML document. So we've actually typed this text in here. This is in here. We don't have to worry about it going anywhere. It's in the HTML file. Now, the image itself is not actually embedded into the page, it's being linked to, so it shows up as it's there. Now let me show you something here. So we've got our HTML file, and we've got our kitten.jpg right there linked in our file, and we know that our index file is right here, and our kitten is right there. So that means that the kitten image is relative to the index file, meaning it's right next to it. Now if I do something, let's say I create a new folder on my desktop, and I can just call this, let's call this images. Might be a place where I would actually put my images if I were to upload this to a website. Now if I move kitten in there, my relative path has now changed. Okay, it's no longer right next to it. It's actually in a folder called images. So just so you understand how that works, if I come back to my HTML page, where I have not changed anything in here yet, I've only moved this image of the kitten. If I hit refresh, you'll see that, well, the alt tag came up there, but the actual image itself is gone. I can't find it. It's not in the proper location relative to where the code is saying that it is. So you always need to make sure you know where your images are being linked from. So in this case, if I wanted to say that all my images will be in an images folder, I would come back to my source right here, source equals, and after that quotation mark, I'm going to type in the actual folder name here. So images, and I'll do a /. So what that's saying is that look in a folder called images / and you will find kitten.jpg. Alright, so now I'm going to save that document, and I come right back to my browser. And if I hit refresh there's my kitty cat. Alright, so you understand. Alright, so hopefully you start to understand how important it is to have that relative linking to your image. Now, I told you there was two different types of linking images, relative and absolute. So let's talk about what an absolute link is. Alright, so this is where I actually found the image. I just did a Google search for kittens and I found this image here, and you can see this full path up here in the address bar. https://yourcat.co.uk blah 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 healthykittenmain.jpg. So that is the absolute link. No matter where I go, that image will always be there. No matter where I put my HTML file, it's always going to be absolutely linked to from right here. So what I could do is I could copy this URL up here. Let's come back to my HTML file, and I can replace that code right there with, again, I sound like I'm repeating myself here a little bit, but I'm just trying to reinforce the naming here. If I put the absolute link to that image and save that file, I can come back to my test file and hit refresh, and there's my image again. Alright, now where this becomes very important is when you start to build your website. You may start to move files around. You really want to set this stuff up properly from the beginning, having all your images in one place, so that way you're not having images links break. But if you were to use an absolute link, chances are that would not happen if you had all your images in one place. And then you can move your HTML files around and not have to worry about this link breaking. But a lot of times within web pages, they still just use relative links because it's a lot easier, it's a lot less code. And again, as long as nothing moves, you should be good. So just keep that in mind, the two different types of linking, absolute and relative links.